You're watching the 2mics 2djs remix show. Tonight's guest is DJ Richie from the RedSpot. Here is your host, Dave.O.
All right, so I think we're on. Testes. My two testes. Okay. Hey, it's Dave, and we're here at 2mics 2djs. Your real talk. Let me try that again. Hey, it's Dave, and we're here at 2mics 2djs. Your real talk, music conversation, and exploration show. Thanks for coming by. Today's guest. Damn it, you bastard!
Today's guest.
He's the gastiest of gasters.
That's it.
I'll take it from today's guest. Today's guest is an old friend of mine. Let me try that again. 5, 4, 3. Today's guest is an old friend of mine, DJ
Rich, how are you doing?
All right, glad to have you here on the couch.
I know, this is cool.
Very comfy. As I mentioned, we go back a long ways. I mean, I remember you. It's possible we crossed paths when I was younger, but when I was in college, that's when I remember you being around everywhere.
Yeah, we were kind of all over that town.
It was a lot of fun, and in case y'all don't know, I'm from Staten Island, New York. Rich is from Staten Island, New York. Richie DJ'd in one of Staten Island's most famous nightclubs, which was the RedSpot, owned by your friend Steve Catone.
Yeah, it was an awesome place. They moved Manhattan to Staten Island, which made it so much cooler.
It had that Pee-wee's Playhouse vibe to it, too.
Yeah, he was such a great artist.
He was, and he is. He's still with us, thank God.
Yeah.
Cranky bastard. But seriously, was the RedSpot like your first gig, or were you DJing before that?
No, I was DJing since high school, since I was like 16. And I remember the belt-driven turntables, you know, and they had the little, I can't even remember what the brand name was, but yeah.
All of them.
Yeah, all of them, pretty much. Me and my friend Mike, we used to...
Shout out to Mike.
We started doing high school, you know, what do you call it, like parties,
okay.
You know, and we did, you know, stuff here and there. That was when like Run DMC was big and really like, you know, during the hip hop era. So we had fun with that. But I remember we had Houdini's Freaks Go Out at Night.
Great song.
And we played both of them simultaneously, but off by like a half a second. And it gave that echo effect to it.
Yeah.
That was before echo machines and all that kind of stuff were there, you know? So it was really kind of fun to explore how to kind of get different sound out of stuff, you know? And then after that, it started out, here's how I got in the RedSpot, okay? I started out where I was hanging out at a club called Wave Street, which you know very well.
Yes.
I was 14, and it was 18, I think, at the time to get in. And I was kind of a little mature for my age at that time.
Did you have the pencil mustache, the chocolate milk on there?
I had the really bad ID that, you know, was like, a guy was...
I know what you mean. Got it on 8th Street, right?
Right.
Manhattan?
Right. So I would hang out there, and then the RedSpot kind of came to life, and the way Steve did it was brilliant. It was amazing. The club had nobody in it. It had nobody in it when he first opened, and he did it that way intentionally. He made people stand out on the street, online, to get into a club that had no people in it. So that this way, the cars that were driving by saw a line down the block for these people waiting to get in.
Very Manhattan.
Yeah. And then what he did was, at that time, I was into like the punk stuff, so I had like mohawks and like, you know, the whole trendy stuff. And I remember we walked up and we were gonna get online, and he goes, "Come over here." And he lets us in the door. And we're like, all right, cool. He didn't even ask for ID because it was the 80s, so it was kind of easy to get into anywhere.
Yeah.
But he goes, "Go inside." And we're like, okay. So we walked inside. And then we realized there was nobody inside. But all he would do was pick out people that looked obscure, that had either punk style or like, you know, the glam rock stuff, and that's all he would let in there. So the people that were standing online are now looking at the freaks going into the building going, I want to get in there.
What's going on over there, man?
Right. So then from there, we got in with Steve, and I think by the time I was like 15, I was bar backing. And then from there, I told him that I used to DJ, and he asked me to cover one night, and then he was like, you want a gig? I'll give it to you. I'm like, cool, I'm in. So I went from bar backing into bartending into DJing and doing all this kind of cool stuff at the age of like 15, 16 years old. So it was awesome.
So what guided your musical influences?
So as a young kid, when I was, we were just talking about this, when I was at the age of 8, my sister took me to my first concert. That's awesome. It was a Kiss concert.
Right on.
It was great. Shout out to Kiss. So we got a chance to go, I got a chance to go to a Kiss concert. Now my brothers were into the Rolling Stones. I have 2 older brothers, and they were into the Rolling Stones. So to me, Kiss was my band.
Right on.
Go along with everybody else. I was the rebel of the family. I was the baby of the family. You know, Kiss was gonna rock, and they were gonna outdo the Stones. You know,
Right on.
and we'd have these competitions all the time. You know, so.
And who would have thought that both of them lasted this long?
I know, and they're still playing. Dude. Crazy, right? So with that, I guess that started my musical journey into this was my band. This was part of me. This is the music that I was listening to and growing up with. And it was good to have something of my own outside of what my family was doing. You know what I mean? This was my own personal thing. And I remember my mother was like one of those people like, how do you listen to that crap? You know what I mean? And I remember, it was funny too, because the first song that I really took to with Kiss was off the Alive album, and it was a song called She.
Yeah.
Okay?
It's a great
And the reason why I got really into that song was because there was one line, and I remember sitting there listening to it, and the line came up, and I was looking around for my mother, because I thought I was going to get in trouble, because the line was, and she takes off her clothes, and that was like, I'm going to get in trouble listening to the satanic music, you know?
That's awesome.
It was fun. That's awesome. You know? But the RedSpot really kind of brought me into the club. It got me into where once I started having real DJ equipment and real turntables and all of that stuff.
Because yes, we did use turntables back in the day.
I know, man. We got to bring it back.
Pounds and pounds of plastic.
Yeah.
Be a sweaty mess before you even got into work.
That's it. That's true. It was crate after crate you would drag in, and then you'd have your crate lined up, and you knew what songs were going to follow with what. Or this was my techno. Well, it wasn't even techno at that point.
Right.
You know, it was club music. You know, and this was my go-to crate for all the stuff that was going to be. This is going to get people on the dance floor stuff.
Right on.
You know. And the one thing that I remember as we kept doing more clubs and going further and further, I would look at the younger guys coming up. And one of the questions I used to always ask, they were like, I want to be a DJ. I know how to do this. I can do this. I do this at home, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, let me ask you this. This is coming from a club perspective, right? I said, is it better to keep people on the dance floor or to lose them? Oh, no, man. I wouldn't let them get off that floor because I would play everything that was jamming. I said, that's where your failure is right from the start. Because if you're working in a club, you got to get them to drink.
Right.
And if you don't
got to get them thirsty,
if you don't kick them off a dance floor, they ain't drinking, which means they're already making money, which means you as a DJ are failing.
Right.
Because you're not getting them to drink.
Right.
You can play all the great music, and it could be from, you know, the easiest stuff that you know you can get people to dance to manipulating them to getting it to what you like. But at the same time, if you don't get them drinking,
right, you got to pay the bills.
Yeah.
And it's funny because a lot of people don't even think about that, but you're right. Like, I used to tell my friends, because all my friends, oh, you're a DJ, I could be a DJ.
Right.
It's like, listen, everybody could be a great DJ for about an hour.
Right.
And then you run out of songs that you know.
Oh, right.
And that's the difference between a DJ who works for a living and somebody that sits home and plays music on Spotify. I hate to tell you.
It's very true. It's very true.
You know?
It's funny because now, especially now, You listen to all the music that you were raised on, and then you listen to the music that's being played now. I think the 80s kind of made that shift of, okay, we're going to start sampling. It's not gonna be original material.
The technology started coming out.
Right. We're going to just take stuff that we know is popular, and then we're just going to throw lyrics on it, or we're going to do something on that level. And you can take, these are the DJs that you know are good DJs. You take the bass line from Wild Cherry, okay? You can add it to the guitar riff, because the two of them match with Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation.
Oh, right on.
Okay? And the bass line is in Michael Jackson's Scream.
That's awesome.
So that's when you know the material.
Right on.
And, as a DJ, you feel that music. You don't just play stuff.
Yeah.
You go, oh, I know what's gonna work right off of that. And we would in the clubs, we would play those games with other DJs. Like, hey, what can you mix after this? I'll give you 3 songs. What are you going to be able to do?
It's funny you say that, because I mean, I've been DJing since 86, 1986 for you youngins out there. But every night that I've been to work, I might have like a couple of songs that I want to play these, but I never go there with too many preconceived notions of what I'm going to play. I love the fact that I can be fresh.
Right.
Every single night is fresh. And that's what, to me, that even if I'm playing the same songs, because you always have your favorite songs that you play in your set, but how you present them, and that's going back to what you were just saying, how you present those songs, when you break into the song, and how of course the audience will, they'll react to it in a positive way.
Right. And that when you're dealing with the newer stuff now, it's almost you listen to these kids with their cars, and they got their really heavy stereo sound system in there, where the whole car is vibrating. But it's the same.
Tighten up that license plate, yo.
It's the same beat. It's boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. And it could be 3 different songs, and it's that same rhythm. So I think where the disconnect came now is they're looking more towards the lyrics of what they project their world to be than the music itself. Creating is gone. It's kind of lost in a sense.
The technology, it's funny you said it, because the technology's changed to the point where on Spotify, it no longer, like Stairway to Heaven, let's take that for example, because it's a long song, 7-minute song. A new song that comes out will be less than 3 minutes, actually, where the old standard was at least 3 minutes. But because they'll get more airplay on a 2-minute song than they would on a 7-minute song. And in a 7-minute song, you can play it several times. Like, okay, that kind of makes sense, but like you just said, it kind of lost something in the transition.
Yeah, it doesn't have even the rock star quality, even the rock material nowadays. It's more generated towards how fast can I get this out? How fast can we make money off of it? And how much money are we going to make off of it? And if that works, just stick with that. There's no creative formula. That's exactly it. It's more like the record company is now set precedent to where musicians used to set precedent. Yeah. I don't see anybody like, okay, what's the new band out now? What's the Fleet? What the hell is the
Greta Van Fleet?
Yes.
I like them.
Totally Zeppelin. Great.
Yeah.
Amazing instrument playing. These guys are on time, and they do really well. I mean, I've even seen the live stuff that they're very talented. They are amazingly talented. And that is great to hear, because it brings you back to when music was music.
I had a conversation with someone about this very topic, and the conversation came up about Greta Van Fleet, actually. And he's like, well, kind of ripping off Led Zeppelin. And I said to him, but there is no Led Zeppelin anymore. And somebody needs to fill that spot. So it's a bunch of kids. Good on them. They rock and roll. They're being authentic for themselves. This is how they want to present themselves. I say it's great.
Yeah. To me, they're still that music is still holding up.
Right.
Because there's nothing else out there at this point, and that's a shame because there's so much technology, like you said. Somebody grabbed an auto-tune, and that's it. That's all it is now.
Yeah.
You know, every single person, they don't have to sing. They don't have to have a trained voice. They don't have to have anything. All they have to do is have an auto-tune and throw a rap on it, and it's done. You know, and that's where I think the flavor is lost, where I, at this point, can't feel the music anymore. I can't turn around and go, you know what, I'm going to spin this. And then after that, this one's going to really just mix really well. Like I said, you can take a bass line from an old song, bring it into the 80s, bring it into the 90s, and all of it's there, but the talent is lost in it where you don't feel it anymore. You know, I'm not getting any kind of vibe.
It might be too sterile, too processed.
It's too processed.
It's kind of like bologna.
Right.
It's got a little bit of everything in there, but nothing really stands out.
That's exactly right. It's like olive loaf.
Olive loaf.
It's got a little bit of olive. It's got a little bit of bologna.
It's got a little bit of loaf. I'm with you. I understand.
It's funny stuff. But I don't know. I would listen to stuff when I was younger that...
Let me ask you about this. Younger. You said your sisters and your brothers were into music.
Right.
Was music like something like that your mom and dad were into also? Were you a musical household?
Yeah. My mother was a classical pianist.
Oh, wow.
So she used to play, and she was an artist. So she would draw for Hallmark. So when she was in her younger years, she would sit and play classical pieces and didn't have the sheet in front of her. She memorized it, and she's playing like Chopin and stuff like that. And she just knew her vibe. She knew her rhythm, you know, and she just play. So my brother Tommy, my older brother, he wanted to play the drums. This one was like really little, probably 5. And my mother's like, she didn't want to have any part of it because that was loud and it was, it wasn't her gig, man. Here she is playing her Chopin and here
she's never going to hear Chopin again.
Right. So he actually had to make up beats to her classical music. That's the only way she was allowed to play, right? So we'd have jam sessions in the house.
That's really
at the
cool.
piano, and my brother would have like the brushes. It wasn't like sticks.
That's awesome.
But he would have to make up a drum beat to the stuff that she was playing. So I was like, this is how I was raised, you know?
That's awesome.
So it was on art and music all the time. So, and then when we were little, there was 6 of us all together. So my oldest brother Tommy, he's the older of the group. He would turn around and he'd have us play Name That Tune. All right? He was a DJ also. And my brother Eddie was a DJ also. So it kind of just fell right through, down the line.
Generationally.
But when we were younger, to keep us entertained, my brother would tell us to close our eyes. He'd take his little 45s and he'd put it on a turntable and he'd play 30 seconds of the song. Give me the song title and the artist. And that's what we would do for a good hour or so. So I learned a lot. I know stuff from the 1940s, the big band stuff.
That's fun.
Just because of that.
Yeah.
That upbringing, you know?
It's funny because you said the 45s. That's how I learned. Like, my mom was always into music. We were not musically talented, but we always had the radio. My mom liked to sing in the car, and that's kind of what sparked my interest in music. And so my grandfather at one point had given me a bunch of 45s, and that's how I actually learned who the artists were with the songs.
Right, because you could see it on the label.
Yeah, and like Dion and the Belmonts.
Right.
My stupid ass, I used to call him Doyne. What did I know about Dion? Doyne and the Belmonts. Who's this guy Doyne?
That's great.
But yeah, those 45s, that's how, when you said that, that's how I learned too.
Yeah. I remember the 78 discs.
Wow.
You have a speed on 78, you know, it was either 45, 33, or 78, which was the really fast ones. But, the music was everything to me, especially as a kid. It gave me a sense of focus. It gave me a sense of, I knew I couldn't play an instrument. That's the instrument I learned how to play. Was DJ. Was learning other people's materials, their music, and all that stuff. Sorry about that. I didn't know if we were recording it.
Great shit, I'm gonna lose it? Fuck! Richie, rewind!
Remember all those stories all over again.
I didn't mean to stop you. I didn't see the red light. Didn't see the red light, man.
But yeah, so that was my way of being able to take music and make a masterpiece out of it. Because I learned, that's why I said, I learned the bass lines to stuff, I learned the rhythms of stuff. When techno started really getting big, I got big into that.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something, the loop samples and all that, it was cool. It was just one flow of a rhythm of stream of music.
Right on.
You know what I mean? And it could go from lyrical to where you just loop the lyric and it would be an a cappella, and you loop the lyric and then you throw another beat underneath it, and it would just bring you into another world, man. It was a feeling. It wasn't just playing. It was a feeling of, this was me playing the guitar.
Right on.
But only this is the way I did it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Now, I gotta ask, because you are somebody that used to spin on vinyl.
Right.
With technology, has that taken some of that feel away?
They're actually, it's funny because they actually started making vinyl cutters again.
Oh, okay.
They have the size of a turntable. They take digital sound and it goes into a needle and cuts the groove. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
So now they made it where if you want that feeling again,
Right, it's like burning a
you had
CD,
that little
but-
popping,
Yeah.
you know, the little
But that had
crackle
a flavor.
noises. Yeah, you had
That's
that
how I knew it was
ambience.
my album.
Right. There were certain places you knew where the scratch was. I mean, you would hit a light on the vinyl and you knew exactly where that break was coming.
Right.
You could visually see it. Now you have to look at time.
Right.
At 2 minutes
And I
and
struggle with
33
that.
seconds, I know there's a drop. Where you used to be able to just look down and see the ridges of it, and you'd know the spacing of the ridge meant there was a break. And that's where you had that feeling. And when you were cutting and scratching and doing that stuff, it was, now with the discs that they have, yeah, you still get, they made like a small turntable, but it's not the same, man.
It didn't feel the same.
It doesn't, because you felt the groove underneath your fingers. You knew, almost like a blind person, you knew if you had your pinky right here, that's where it was that you wanted to hit.
I gotta ask, because it's happened to me a bunch of times.
Right.
How many times did you cue up a song to the perfect spot and your pinky bumped the needle?
Right to the end.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
It's like, ah!
Yeah. No, wow, yeah. There was a couple of times where I was on that like kind of showcase where people were just like into it, and it was like, okay, ready, go, and it's like, and everybody, and you got the whole crowd, the whole floor just turn around and go, with you know, and you got to jump up and
feeling
react
bad
to
enough
it.
already.
Yeah. You just get up, you throw the needle on there, you just go like you did it. Yeah,
meant to do it.
Everything is meant to be done. When it comes to DJing, everything was meant to be done. You lost the whole floor. I meant to do that. Yeah, your record scratch. Well, it bounces perfectly. I remember about scratch records. Kiss Dynasty album, right? I'm in California at my grandmother's house, right? Kiss Dynasty album first comes out, and I'm the first one to get it, right? My grandmother buys it for me, and I put it on her Victrola, because she didn't have a turntable, she had a Victrola. The whole, you had that crankable one where you had, you had that whole big stereo unit, you know, and like the TV fit in there, and the turntable were in there. So I put the album on, and I put the needle on, and the thing just goes, beep, 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 starts skipping, right? Counterweight on the back, I didn't know this at the time, I was a young kid. Counterweight on the back was too far in, or too far out, so it was kind of tilting the needle up. So I take a penny, and I put the penny on the needle, right, on the cover of it. My cousin rats me out. Grandma, he put money on top of your needle. So my grandmother comes in and she's all upset because now I'm going to wear down the needle with the penny. You know, it's going to
iron spike.
Right.
That piece of plastic is going to wear down that iron spike.
Right. So I remember I got in trouble for that. And
That's funny.
it wasn't a pleasant day
Listen,
for that.
I would love to have just seen the video of that album playing on a Victrola.
I know. Like, it was awesome. I was like, I went back to the 1950s, you know?
That's awesome.
But yeah, I remember when that album came out, and I was looking forward to it, and then I put it on, and the first song was what was the first song off of that? I can't remember now. It wasn't "I Was Made for Love of You." That was the big hit.
We can look it up.
But I remember being upset because this was not Kiss. This was disco, man, and that was not happening with Kiss.
You know, I have to say, I agree with you.
Yeah.
That was a very decisive moment in my Kiss fandom.
Yeah, I kind of started sliding with my allegiance. I would run inside the house when the Kiss commercial came on. We'd be playing football out in front of the house, and my mother would yell, the commercial's on! And I'd come booking in the house, and I'd sit there for my 30 seconds and then run back outside.
That's
you know?
awesome.
And then the Dynasty album came out, and I was like, oh, they sold out. This is horrible. This is going downhill. Actually, the first song. And, yeah, I remember putting that needle on there, and it just kind of skipped along, and then it went to the end, and I was like, well, okay, that's not going to work out. But, yeah.
And listen, the money on the needle thing, you know, I think we've all been guilty of that at some point.
Yeah, but I don't think most of us got ratted out.
No, that was the first time.
I'm like, dude, you're my cousin. Like running as soon as I put that Betty on there. He's like, no, I don't think you should do that. I don't think you should do that. I'm like, it's gonna hold the needle down.
So I want to big stroller play.
Yeah. So
the visual of that is just so awesome.
Yeah.
It's epic. That's funny.
And then getting in trouble on top of it. The album was a depression, and I got in trouble with my.
What a waste of $5.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, in all honesty, it has weathered better than The Elder, but
yeah, I mean, when they got to Unmasked, I was like, okay,
yeah,
kind of done here.
Honestly, I don't think I've ever listened to a track from that album, and I really, again, like you, was a big Kiss fan. So, speaking of songs, what are like some songs that like any genre, but like favorite songs? Like when you hear a song, it's like, oh, that's my jam.
Okay, damn. I don't know if I have a particular.
If you were stuck on a
favorite song, but I do have a lot of memories of a lot of songs to a lot of events.
Right on.
Like I attach. Some people use a stopwatch.
Right.
I know this song is 3.5 minutes long, and I know that if I'm in the shower and I have to get to work, I got 4 songs to get out of there. That's how I time stuff, right? So like, okay, I remember roller skating with a girl at my sister's house in New Jersey when we lived in Staten Island, and I really liked her. And the song that was popular back then was the SOS band, Take Your Time, Do It Right.
great song.
I remember we were skating down the road together, and it, like, good memories, you know what I mean? Like, there are certain things that just kind of click, and you don't forget them. And it doesn't matter whether you're a rock guy or a techno kid, or there's certain material that is just time-based, that that's a great song. You know what I mean? Because you remember that narrative, right? So, but the balance of, and it's funny because my kids are going through the same thing, and it's so awesome to watch. Like,
I was gonna say,
my daughter is, at the time was 5, she's 8 now, but at the time she was 5, she went into the dentist office, and Journey comes on. And she's sitting there, and she's like, Dad, this is Journey, isn't it? And I'm like, yeah. She goes, and she named the song, I forgot what it was, you know, one of the regular popular ones, but she's singing the lyrics. So the dentist assistant walks in, and she sees my 5-year-old jamming a Journey. She's like, that is so awesome, you know?
That's cool.
But they have such a range because I have such a range, because I was given such a range at such a young age, you know? So like, there's songs that, I don't know, that I look at now lyrically. A lot of the 80s was about paranoia. I don't know if it was about the drugs in the 80s or what, but if you look at, like...
The 80s were a hell of a drug, man.
It was. And you look at, like, Men at Work.
Okay.
Their whole album is about paranoia. Yeah, it was totally like, I got to get down on the ground. There's somebody at my door. You know, who can it be now? You know, it's really funny when you look back.
I never did. That's hysterical.
And you understand that era. You understand pretty much a lot of stuff, which is why I think it's confusing now, because the music now doesn't give you a time of the era. It does and it doesn't at the same time. Like, a lot of it is disrespectful, you know, jargon, that they're spitting out now.
A little bit belligerent, a little bit misogynistic.
Yeah. And maybe that's the sign of the time at this point. Maybe 20 years from now we'll look back and go, wow, I remember that.
Listen, I can't wait to see some grandma 20 years from now breaking it down in the aisle of Walmart. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Going, oh, my jam, my song.
I can't see that. I can't see that far in the future. I don't think I want to see. I think when I get that far in the future, I'm going to wear very dark sunglasses.
Very dark. Eye bleach. Yeah. Break it down, Grandma.
It's true. It's true. It's really weird how you turn around and you look at some of the stuff. In the 80s, there was this band called the Goodmen. I don't know if you remember that. Give it up.
Love that song.
Love that. That song, for some reason, when I was playing in the clubs, when that song came out, I was in this whole, New Orleans vibe.
Oh, cool.
That's what it brought me to, and that I remember. Remember Mary?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So we're out there, and I got a chance to see New Orleans. It was awesome. She rocks.
Yeah, I've seen her down there.
She is very, very cool. But stuff like that brought me to that time frame, and that's another good memory. There was a band called APB that did a song called "Shoot You Down." It's all bass. It's just bass and rhythm, and it's an obscure song.
Check it out.
But it's a great song.
So this is the part where I get to learn.
get some.
Because the truth of the matter is, we all have such a diverse musical style, even though we converge at certain points.
Right.
There's tons of music that I've never heard before. Right. And I'm not against listening. Right. I'm not against learning.
Music is music, man. But very on the punk era style, and this was a big spot. This was a big song in the RedSpot. Do you remember the Ferry Club?
Of course.
That was a great place, too. I love DJing. Yeah, that place, dude, it was so awesome because you'd have all of these ska kids that would come in, right? And I did a lot of ska at that point, right? Madness and people like that. And I remember it was a restaurant, right? It was a second-tier restaurant that overlooked the ferry going to Manhattan, right?
Awesome. Yeah, right on Bayshore. Great view.
Windows,
love
really
that
nice.
place.
It was great view, right? They'd have the bouncer downstairs, and he had a switch. And that switch would flicker a red light that was in the DJ booth, and if he flickered that light, that meant the cops were coming. Because it was totally illegal. We weren't supposed to have a nightclub there. So there were some people that were, it was pretty much in an industrial area, but there was some private homes around there. So people would complain about the music being too loud or the traffic of people going in and out of this place, right? If it's supposed to be a restaurant, there's a lot of club kids going through there and blah, blah, blah. So cops would check every once in a while. So we'd have tables, right? We'd push those tables aside. If that light went off, the music went off. If the music went off, everybody in there knew, slide the tables back into the middle of the dance floor.
Sit down! Play musical chairs.
Right.
That's awesome.
It was the best musical chairs place I've ever seen, right?
That's awesome.
And then the cops come up and they start walking around. Nobody's got food on the table. Everybody's got drinks.
Right.
And everybody's sweating. And if they're not really moving around, they shouldn't be sweating. So everybody's sitting at this table sweating.
A lot of anxiety in the room. I'm very nervous.
A lot of stress. It was awesome. But everybody knew because it was such an underground place that like stuff like this or the RedSpot would play this material, and everybody was it was almost like a culture movement. It wasn't just kids coming out to dance. It was everybody was in a clique that knew what was going on around them. They were aware of their surroundings. They just wanted to have a good time, hang out, and then be on their way, No fights, no problems. Like I said, watching a whole bunch of club kids dancing to ska music, and how they do their skank, and they do their...
Feel the floor vibrate a little bit.
Right.
That's
and
fun.
all of a sudden, everybody just slides a table in the center of the floor.
That's hysterical. And for those of you who might know about Staten Island back in the day when the Ferry Club did exist, it was a time in Staten Island, which I'd like to say was a renaissance of the nightclub movement, because there was so many, not just an abundance, because it was more of a quality. Like, you know, like even the dives were really cool dives.
Yeah.
You know,
that whole strip, that whole Bay Street strip
it was amazing, and it's so sad because that could never be recreated.
Right.
You know, and honestly, the way I look at stuff like that back in the day, if you know everybody is in one spot, that means everybody else is okay, and like you just got to keep an eye on this one group, you know.
Right.
So having a nightclub district is not a bad idea, folks. In case y'all are wondering.
Yeah. It brings a lot of jobs. That's the first thing. Two, it gives us a lot of room for DJs like us to do whatever we want, you know, musically. And it was funny because the way they had that set up, it was a couple of clubs. They had a far enough stretch between them where nobody was competing against each other.
Yeah, not directly.
But then they were going to build a Navy Yard there. And everybody opened up. They flooded it with nightclubs where, I mean, all you had to do was walk out the door and you were at the next club. You know, it became a walking marathon.
And that's what I liked about that, honestly, because you had, first of all, that part of Staten Island had a big parking issue to begin with.
Yeah.
So it was nice to be able to park your car and just to walk around.
Right. It was almost like a seaport.
Right. I mean, when I lived in Louisiana, they had something called a bar mall.
Right.
And it was a strip mall, but every one of the stores was a bar.
Right.
And it was owned by the same guy, but each little bar had their own little
theme.
Exactly.
Right.
And brilliant.
Yeah.
You know, park your car, you hop around, it feels like you did a whole bunch of nothing.
Right.
And you had a good time doing it.
Right. And you weren't driving from one bar to another.
Right.
You were walking it. I remember there were days where I was being dragged down the street because we had to get to the next place. So it was a really good time and era with music too, because you had what was the one that was downstairs at the end of that strip? I can't remember, but they did a lot of reggae there. Kana's was another one that was off of that side street there. If you went Bay Street, you went down.
Right. What was it?
I can't remember what the name of that was.
Wasn't there something like a 609 club or something like that?
No. It was
that
like
was further down,
Dock of the Bay.
Dock of the Bay?
Dock of the Bay, I think it was. But yeah, it was a downstairs. You'd go downstairs. It was a wine. Remember the wine cellar one? What was that?
I never went
the
there.
Caves.
The Caves. I went there
so
a couple of times. Actually, that was really cool.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that wasn't open back when we were really having fun.
Yeah.
Because that was a neat
That
place.
it was a wine cellar, an old wine cellar that had like these different alcoves. I mean, it literally
the alcoves were the actual wine cellars.
Yeah, water running through the floor and stuff like that because it was, you know, just underground. That was cool. But even with that, they had a rock bar, they had reggae, they had the new wave, you know, club stuff. They had Wave Street was a lot of pop.
Wave Street, you had Park Villa that used to just, what was it, Metro Bongo a Go-Go?
Yeah, Metro Bongo a Go-Go.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And the music.
And shouts out to Mike Gopal, by the way, DJ at Park Villa.
Yeah. You had your glam rock bands. You had a mixture of everything. You had a lot of categories. Now it doesn't seem like you have any categories at all. It's hip hop or rock, you know. And there's not a lot of. I mean, you got your pop stuff, you know, but
no, I agree. I agree. I mean, I understand that hip hop is super. Like, it's probably the most popular form of music in the world. You know, and I'm not against that. I think sometimes it just overshadows the other forms of music that can be out there.
There's not enough expression. It's all narrowed down to a certain kind of categories. It's funny because I was raised on hip hop. I was a hip hop dancer.
Gangsta.
I was. I had my little break suit and my beads.
That's awesome.
And I had my cardboard, and I go out in the street and I do my little flips and all that stuff. I actually did a video with Salt and Pepper and Rob Bass.
Right on.
I toured with MTV. I was doing my hip hop thing when they first came out, and it was fun. Hip hop was fun. It was exciting. It was, you know, who was gonna outplay the other guy, and you know who was verbally acute with how they express themselves. Now it's just the same stuff, but it definitely, it started off as just almost like teasing back and forth. You know, one hip hop, I can beat you.
Making fun of your mama?
Right. Kind of like that. Your mama's so fat. It's so serious when Tupac and Biggie and the wars between the West and the East and the separation.
That was sad.
Yeah, it was a shame because they were both brilliant artists. They were really good lyrical songwriters, you know? And to lose both of them in such a short period of time kind of just set off a whole nother track of
because the impact in their short careers was felt. Can you imagine what could have been?
Right, if they actually, I mean, how long did they drag out their unreleased stuff? You know, they kept pushing, you know, oh, this is from the vault, right? And they put out, like, I think 2 more albums right after he was gone, right? You know, I think that in itself, where these kids now that are coming up, I don't know if they even have the encouragement to bring something out. They're too nervous. They're too concerned about how somebody's going to react to it, how somebody's going to take it, which loses sense of the expression itself. Am I going to offend somebody? Can I say this word? Can I not use that word? Or do I have to worry about certain categories of
It's okay for art to be a little offensive.
Right. That's the whole point, is for you to just do what you do and let everybody else have their own opinion. Let them have their opinion. It's okay. Art is an expression. It's how you feel. It's not what they felt. It's what you feel. And if they feel what you felt, then you have a connection. If you don't connect with that, then they're just observing.
Right.
Let them observe. put them behind a glass wall.
Staring at their phones and staring at their shoes.
Right. You know, everybody's talking about the zombie apocalypse. So that's it. Everybody's looking down. Nobody's looking up anymore. You know? It's weird. It's weird. But music is such a great way of expressing yourself, especially as a DJ. If you are in tune with the people, I watch these things on YouTube. There's these techno DJs, and they just got swarms of people around them. I mean, swarms, like as if you were in a rock concert. And it's for one DJ. The one song that comes to mind right off the top of my head is, what is it? Mafia. Swedish House Mafia.
Oh, okay.
Swedish House Mafia called Don't You Worry Child. Okay.
Great song.
My son was 5 when that song came out. And I liked it as soon as I heard it. I was like, oh, this is a great song. So I showed my son the video, and he's, you know, lights and the techno stuff. And that he was like, ooh, shiny stuff, you know? But that song with me and him is a bond that every time he hears that song, he knows this is cool. My dad's song.
That's awesome.
You know? And that's what I wish we could get back, is that real connection of the way somebody wants to interpret what they're saying. And it's hard as a DJ. That's why I don't DJ anymore. You know, I don't DJ anymore because I can't feel the music anymore. I really can't. And I remember there was a period where this club that I was working at, they were playing a lot of hip hop. They were playing a lot of the current stuff. And they asked me to come in, and I was like, okay, no. This is not what I want to play. If I come in, I'm coming in this way. Right. This is what I'm going to do. Well, I don't know if that'll go over. So trust me, it'll go over. You just got to give me time to make it go over.
Right.
And all I did was play 80s and 90s. And we're talking about, 2005, 2000, whatever. So at first, everybody's like, man, this music stinks, and I can't hang out here, I can't do this, I can't, But then after a while, I started getting the people that were in that time frame and the people that knew that time frame, and it started packing everybody back in, but with the right element. Because now it was people that were going to appreciate, spend at the bar, do what needed to be done to keep that night,
the atmosphere going,
night alive. And that is when you know what you're doing. Because if you crash and burn, and you can't revive it. You can't, because you're gonna make people have a heart attack when you get out there.
We all have a train wreck once in a while, but how you recover?
It's filtering. It's filtering what you have to what you want. What was that movie? Patrick Swayze. Where he's doing the double deuce.
She's like the wind. Is it no?
No. What was that? Roadhouse.
Oh, right on.
Okay, so he takes this dive bar and he goes in there and he redistributes.
He's the cooler.
Right. He redistributes the wealth and makes it back to this really hip club. That's what it's like to be a DJ. When you can turn around and go, you know what? I'm feeding you this. I'm going to give this to you, and you're going to enjoy it. And if you don't like it right away, give me 7 years and your taste buds will change and it will work. It's just a matter of holding out,
right?
You know, because you're seeing the crowd go down, and you're going, man, I gotta stick to my guns, but I know this is gonna hurt for the first month. But once you start seeing, okay, now I know that's the place to go. That's the DJ I want to hang out with. That's the music I want to hear. That's where I'm going. And I would have people come in, start requesting stuff, Janet Jackson or what was the other one? I got a lot of Salt and Pepper or Rob Bass or stuff that they knew as club favorites, club hits at that time frame. And you're talking about 2005. You know, this is 1985, and you're talking 20 years later, 30 years later. You're talking a whole generation of people that are now wanting to hear that. And then you started building it back up, and then the club owner was like, I get you. Now I know where you're coming from. That to me is when you know you know what you're doing. Because to go up there, we've done weddings and stuff like that too. We did cruise ships. We DJ and do stuff for cruise ships. Give a good story.
Love good stories.
John.
Okay. Our buddy Johnny Presto.
Johnny Presto. Me and him were doing a cruise around Manhattan for season was graduation season, right? So we're doing all the proms on the boat. John's got all this material. John knows his stuff. He's up to date every day. He knows what he needs to play, right? So we're on the top of the level of top deck of this boat, right? And he's cranking it out. He's playing Mary J. Blige or whatever it was at the time, right? And you hear all the kids down there, oh man, this is gonna be awesome. This is gonna be great. And they're getting on it, they're bopping to the music, and they're getting onto the deck, and they're coming up, and as they hit the top deck, there I am. Tuxedo tie, right? And they turn around, no joke, go, oh man, Whitey's DJing.
Oh my God.
Straight to my face. Like they didn't even hold back, okay?
Damn, that's cold.
Yeah. So, we're there, right? Now, I used to back up dance for Rob Bass, Salt and Pepper, right? So, I was a dancer, right? So, John would utilize that. And he's like, okay, so I'm mixing and I'm doing my stuff. And then he goes, dude, you gotta go out there. I'm like, what? Did you hear what they just said? He's like, no, you gotta go out there. You gotta go out there now, right?
Go out there now, he says. Don't even think about it. Just jump.
Yeah. I'm the boss.
If you think about it, you ain't gonna do it.
I'm the boss. I'm the MC. You're the DJ. You're the dancer.
That's awesome.
Going, right?
That's awesome.
So
Classic Presto.
So I turn around. I have a fedora hat on at the time, right? Because we're on this cruise ship, and I decided to shave my head and do a mohawk, right? And John freaks out. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Don't worry, I got this hat."
That's great.
Because we're on a cruise ship.
That's
you
great.
can't have a mohawk when you're on a cruise ship, right? So I put the hat on, right?
I got a hat.
Yeah, got a hat. All's good, right? John, don't worry. We got this covered.
That's awesome.
So he turns around and he goes to me, he goes, all right, you got to get out there, man. You got to get out there. So at the time, my routine, like if we did private parties or bar mitzvahs or whatever we were doing at the time, he turns around and my routine was Michael Jackson. So we do this thing kind of like a follow me when it was a kid's party. And I would make up 8 steps, break them down, and then they would have to follow, right? So he turns around and he's, dude, just go. I put on Jam, Michael Jackson's Jam, right? So I got out there and flicking my hat, I'm doing my moonwalk, I'm doing my backflips, I'm going all out on this one because I'm either dying or getting thrown off the side of the boat. I'm not sure which one it was, but I'm gonna do it, right? And out of nowhere, because now I'm in this haze of just making sure that I hit my marks and do my dance, right? I hear this young black woman turn around and go, that white boy can dance.
That's awesome.
Broke the whole tension.
That's great.
Because out of silence, because they're all sitting on the side and they're jamming to the music, but they're not going to get up and dance.
Right.
So out I go, do my little monkey dance, and this girl just screams.
That's awesome.
It was like out of a movie. It was out of a real.
That would have been a viral video.
Yeah, it would have been great. And then after that, the tension was broken. The guys are on the dance floor. And of course, John's like, "See, I told you."
Takes the credit. You're out there being the monkey boy, and he's taking credit.
Yeah, I'm the one with the brilliant ideas here. Remember that?
Now sweat some more.
Yeah. So
that's great.
You know, when you're doing gigs like that, and you're kind of just going from clubs to mobiles to whatever area you're being set into, you adapt to that moment and you adapt to it. And if you like DJing, if you really like doing what you do, it doesn't matter what you do as long as you're doing it. You know, as long as you are behind a microphone and got your turntables or now your CDs or whatever now, as long as you're feeling, I watch a lot of people on YouTube that are they're playing like 90s stuff on YouTube, and they're just DJs just playing, and they're getting a lot of hits because they're in their living room and they're just spinning music. So they just look up at the camera, hey everybody, keep spinning, hey everybody, every once in a while, and they're making a lot of impact. Because one, with the coronavirus, two, you know, it's music that people are digging, and if they didn't dig it then, they're digging it now because they got this person that's really good at mixing, and they're starting to get that groove, you know. I put it on sometimes just so I can reflect on to see if I can hear the mix.
Right on.
90% of the time, I'll listen to that stuff just to see, without looking at it, because I don't stare at the screen. I'll put it on, and I'm like, okay, there's
a transition.
Right.
It's funny because that right there, that transition as a DJ, some DJs just don't have that skill.
Right.
And I know software has made it easier to do that, but that doesn't make you a better DJ.
Right.
You know, you have to have that ear.
Right.
You know, you don't want to be playing a chorus on top of a verse unless it's intentional, you know, but I hate when a DJ sounds like dribbling basketballs, like double dribble, like it's terrible.
And you'll get somebody that they'll just press a button and it scratches. It gives that scratch note.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like,
no.
See, you ain't feeling that stuff.
You don't know the pain of scratching a record and then dumping the needle by accident. Okay? See, you see these hands?
Yep.
Too damn clumsy for my own good.
Yeah, but that's what made it. That's what gave it that edge. Like, okay, I'm in the moment. I'm feeling the music. Now I have to feel the mix, but not only do I have to feel the mix, I have to make them feel the mix.
Right.
They have to turn around and give me the feedback that, because you're hearing it under one headphone,
right,
and you have a monitor, but you're too busy concentrating on the mix, where these people are just dancing and they got their groove.
You're walking and chewing gum.
Right. So you're not sitting back listening to a recording of what you just did. You're doing it live, and you have to make those people feel like there was no transition, or it was the smoothest thing, like, oh yeah, like, oh man, that was awesome.
Like all of a sudden they realize it. They're a minute into the song, and now they realize that it's their favorite song.
Right. And that's the expression. Like when you get that person doing that kind of expression, like, it clicked. I got it. I know the song now. You know what I mean? And especially, like I said, when you were mixing vinyl back then, and you had those loop samplers, and you had an a cappella version of something, and you looped it, and then you brought another track underneath it, where it made it like an echo effect going out, but as you're bringing the other level up, it would bring you into another song, and then you'd have maybe, 30 seconds, maybe a minute before the lyrics of the second song kicked in.
Right.
So they're still echoing that one song in their head that they know that you've been playing. All of a sudden, the beat track changes. They don't even know it because they're too busy listening to the loop, and then all of a sudden, the other song kicks in, and it's like, oh, this is great. You know?
That's my jam.
Right, you can move a room like that. That's
Great.
That's
yeah,
fun.
that is
fun to do.
You're right, because that is a sign of a good DJ. You have to be able to, excuse me. You have to be able to move the room around.
Right. And that's where you go your 15, 20 minutes of hardcore, I got this is just gonna flow. And then, okay, let me give them something that's on the top 40. Something that they're going to recognize, but they're not going to be like, oh, this is my jam. Right. You know what I mean? And then they slide off, and they go, you know what, I'm going to grab a drink. And they go off, and they grab their drink. And then you go, okay, give them 2 songs of that, so this way they can drink their drink.
Right.
Cool themselves
Bartender can
down,
make the drinks.
Right. Get their tips, make their money at the bar, and then you go, okay, time to bring them back. Watch this. And you throw that song on. And all of this was in synchronicity where you didn't lose the beat.
Right.
You just dropped the tempo to where it was, maybe it's 120 beats per minute, and you drop it down to 110, 100. In that mix where that break comes in, and you loop that acapella track, and then all of a sudden it's boom, and then you just start bringing it slower, and they think it's a remix of the song, but they don't realize that you're changing the tempo altogether to get them off the floor,
right.
Get them to drink, and then you give them another song after that, and then you go, okay, time to bring it back up, and you play that. That's my song, and off they go off the bar like racehorses to get to their spot on the floor.
See you later, got to go.
It's fun because you're up on that pedestal and you're looking down at this crowd, and you're going, all right, is this going to pull it or is this not? So you're kind of worried, but if you know what you're doing, you got that, okay, it's time to pull them back in, and then you watch them come back in, because once you make that mix over and you throw that slider over and it's on that track,
right.
Just watch, and everybody, 2 seconds, the light bulb goes on and they're all right where you want them. And you keep them there for another 20 minutes. Then dump them off again.
Right on.
So it's fun. It's fun to control.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I got to ask you, what's your favorite genre of music in general, like out of all the time? You know, like I like Motown and jazz, but
right. What I guess the majority of what I listen to is either techno, serious house techno, and old 80s rock.
Okay.
You know, like Journey. You know, anything 80s to me, even the new wave stuff, just that whole era, like we were discussing before, that whole era is just, it was open to so many possibilities because of the shift in musical gear, the digital age. You know what I mean? Howard Jones.
Right on.
Is always one of my favorites. You know what I mean? He was one of the great innovators with the keyboard. You know. I mean, the techno stuff, I like it just, not trance stuff. The techno stuff reminded me of, I remember I DJ'd at Limelight. Do you remember that?
Yeah, of course.
Remember that club? Mm-hmm. Okay. Got a chance
Limelight
to DJ.
was a very cool club.
Yeah, that was one of the best clubs I've ever worked with. I got the chance to work on that offset room that they had.
Oh yeah, that was great. Yeah, that was a great room.
That was fun, man. That was a good time. That's where I started getting into really club and house music stuff, you know. And the techno stuff, like I said, when you watch these guys now, there's some guys out of Britain, there's some guys that are out of like Seattle and stuff like that. And there's a festival down here that they do, and I can't remember what its name. They do it in Miami, and it's Ultra.
Oh, okay.
When they do those kind of things, and you just see this whole swarm of people just in one big, almost like a wave that you would see in a sports arena. Right. You know, everybody's just like, and they're all in sync and they're all in time. I think that's why I like the techno music, because it's a unified sound barrier with barely any lyrics. So everybody's there just for the groove. They're not there for, the specific lyrics that makes you cry or makes you, get on a dance floor because it's Madonna or whatever, whatever it was at the time. It's just got a syncopated sound that it's just a groove. That's one of the reasons why I like techno as much as I do. But the 80s rock stuff, it's just memories. It's just total memories. You go back and, I even like the stuff that the 90s and early 2000s brought out. Like Puddle of Mud is one of my favorite rock bands. You know what I mean? Like, they're so angry. So angry, but it's lyrically, it's brilliant. The stuff that he writes, which is one of the things I tried to teach my kids is don't just listen to the rhythm. Yes, the rhythm is good, but listen to the lyrics and see if the lyrics move you. If the lyrics move you, it's a good song because rhythmatically you're going to already be in the hook. Right. You like a song, you like a song. But now you're listening to the lyrics and you're understanding what that song means. And if that still gets you, then you're feeling the material. Right. So, especially now with iPads and stuff like that, you get the song lyrics. Oh right, yeah. Displayed for you, almost like karaoke, and without the karaoke, because it's they're it's okie dokie. Yeah. It's okie dokie. But yeah, so they have a tendency now to, when they're listening to stuff that, this sounds really cool, they'll pull that up to see what the lyrics are. That's cool. And that to me is where they've decided they like 80s. Okay. And they like 90s. That's fun. They like the material that I listen to, not just because I'm listening to it, but because they like the song. They like it on their own. Yeah. They're like awesome. That, like my son, we were talking about this earlier. My son got a chance to go, we went to the KISS concert, their last tour, right? So my sister had taken me when I was younger, when I was 8. First KISS concert, first concert ever, right? So then she goes, hey, listen, KISS is ending their touring. I want you to take the kids. And I'm like, okay, that's cool, right? I didn't think it was going to hit them that hard. Well, they dug it. That's awesome. I get KISS concerts now every 2 weeks. And I'm not joking. I have pictures to prove it. I will show you some of the footage. They throw a KISS concert now. My son who's 13 and my daughter who's 8. Out to Detroit, Rock City. They know. My son has memorized because he gets on YouTube and he's watched the KISS concert. This one that they just did. Somebody filmed the whole entire concert, right? Knows everything Paul Stanley says right from the break. He's got it down to a science, It's like you listen to Detroit Rock City and he's blurring out what Paul Stanley says before the song started, while the song is going, come on, Tampa, That's awesome. So he's got it down to a science. That's cool. He gets to relive that. Right, and I get to relive it, which makes it even better because now I'm looking at myself as a younger kid doing the same thing he's doing, And that, to me, is one of the really cool things about having kids is that if they take to what you're feeding them and you get them where they are, you get to see it again all over again. It's my fountain of youth. Right. I get to relive the music that I loved. The same way they're expressing it was the same way as I was expressing it. Like I did KISS concerts in my backyard. That's awesome. I had my table, and we had 4 kids from the neighborhood, and we go out. We made cardboard guitars and put felt on it. That's great. That's awesome. I had Paul Stanley fractured mirrored one with aluminum foil and some black electrical tape. Straight out of the Little Rascals. Right. Yeah. It was awesome. We did our own KISS concert in the backyard. We had our speaker in the window. That's awesome. We played the songs, but. Yeah, just watch him do that now. It's awesome. And when you're going through all the years that you've spent either in clubs or doing DJing, like weddings and bar mitzvahs, and here's another funny story. Shout out to Johnny Presto. Yeah, it is, because that's where it went. We're doing a bar mitzvah. Now, bar mitzvahs, I don't know if everybody's familiar with them. It's the coming out party for a young adult.
Right, a young Jewish, 13, young man, young woman,
right.
They become adults in the Jewish religion.
Right, okay. So I'm teaching them a step-by-step routine. It would be 8 steps. I'd break it down, and then we do it all as one step, right? Kind of like a Michael Jackson move, right? Okay. So here I am, getting ready to do my follow me, right? So John goes, I'm gonna go talk to whoever about whatever he was gonna talk to them about, right? So he leaves me alone in this room.
Big mistake, huh?
Oh, yeah. So I turn around and I show them their 8 steps. So by the time they were done, it was Michael Jackson's routine. We did a spin, we grab our crotches, stick our hands in the air and go, oh! Okay?
That's awesome.
So John comes walking in just as we were starting to wrap it up. And here's these 30 kids spinning around, grabbing the crotch, going home. He goes, you can't do that. I said, I just did. He's like,
that's great.
He goes, I'll never get another gig again. I said, dude, they enjoyed that.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, doing stuff like that.
And I'm sure he's gotten some gigs since then.
Yeah, he's got a couple more.
One or two.
Yeah.
That's
I know.
Awesome.
I always destroy him. I don't know why, but we did a wedding for the guitarist from. It's a 90s band.
Papa Roach?
Papa Roach. Okay. So, again, I like to surprise John because that's what I do.
Awesome.
And I had hair. And then I show up and I didn't have hair, except for this ponytail of extensions that came down to here.
Were you like a ninja?
Shaved my whole entire.
Oh man!
I left just a ponytail here with extensions on it that were halfway down my back, so I'm bald.
So you look like a Rasta Hare Krishna.
And I show up to John's house, right? We're loading up the gear and we're getting ready to go. And I have my hat.
So you can't forget the hat.
All is good, right? So he doesn't realize that I don't have a mohawk anymore. He thinks I have the hat, and I have my mohawk, and I have my hair, right? So because it's tight on the sides, right? I get to the gig, and we're unloading, and it's getting hot. So I take the hat off. He goes, what did you do? I'm like, John, what do you mean, what did I do? He's like, what did you do? I'm like, dude, this is a rock band. They're not going to mind me having this hairstyle, right? So check this out. So it's even better, right? So we're loading up the gear. We're getting it onto the area where we're supposed to set up. And the groom and the band is upstairs on like this 3rd floor, right? And the guy's leaning, and the lead singer of Papa Roach is leaning out the window. He goes, dude, that is the coolest haircut I've ever seen. He goes, guys, come here. He gets the whole band to come to the window. So I just slowly, smugly turn around and look at John and go, I told you. He hated me the rest of the night for that.
That's awesome.
But yeah, DJing that amount of time or that amount of years and doing that many different things it was such a great fun experience to go through, because not only are you shifting with the material of the era, but you're going into different venues and creating a party atmosphere. You're creating
magic.
Happy. You're making people happy, and that, I think, is the best reward for a DJ, is to see that many people happy at one time. Because we would do stuff. I have to say, traveling with John was definitely.
Give me some more John stories,
It was
please.
definitely an experience. I would watch John make people do things that you wouldn't expect them to do just because they were going to win a tiny little prize. He would make them do, because he was always the MC, the front guy, and I was always the guy behind the turntables and just cranking the music, you know. And he would turn around and he'd have people knocking people over, almost like you would see in. Remember when they were showing footage of people trying to get toilet paper? Right. This was on a daily basis with John. John made people do that all the time. They would trample each other to get back to the DJ booth, because he'd say, "Okay, we're going to play this game, and if you have this table is this team, this table is this team, this table is this team." whoever's got a lipstick and getting it up to the DJ as fast as they can.
They bust a hip on the way up.
They were knocking over tables and drinks, and they were just stepping on people.
That's awesome.
And he would turn around. All right, if you have a credit card, and he would. Wives were like taking their husbands' wallets and taking their stuff out and bringing stuff up. It was fun. It was fun. It was just fun to watch people just. And all you'd get is like this rubber duck or something. It wasn't anything like you were winning a brand new car.
Right.
You know?
Come on down.
The power of a DJ it's magical. It really is, because you're creating an atmosphere that everybody's looking to you to make them feel better.
And not only that, to make them feel better, but they're also looking for you to create a memory that they'll look fondly upon in the future.
Right. Because, I mean, there's only so many times that you can play the conga song.
Right.
And it's going to get people to go.
Because it's going to sound the same way the first time or the millionth time.
Right.
Yeah.
You play that material, and it was synchronized. It was like, okay, you go from here to here to here to here to here. We get them on the dance floor, and then go where you feel you got to go. Right. So there were certain leeways to get people to kind of move with you. And then when you're in a club atmosphere, you're telling them what's cool. They're coming to the club because they want to know what's hip. If you ever go to a club and you know that club plays a certain type of music, say you go to a techno club, okay? I don't know every techno song out there, but I'll go to a techno club because I want to hear the transitions and I want to hear the DJ. Right. And then I sit there and I'm like, wow, that's an incredible song. Or that's a great mix. You like the song because of the mix.
Right.
You know? And you start, whatever it is now, where you're just telling your phone to, hey.
Oh, Shazam?
Yeah.
What song is
this? And you're in the club like this with your phone, now downloading or getting the material.
Guilty.
Yeah. Taking it home.
Guilty.
But that's the magic of being a DJ. That's the fun of doing that. Because when you can make a DJ even feel like he's a part of, when he's not DJing, feel like he's a part of that whole vibe. You take it a professional and you're showing a professional. It's awesome.
It's funny you say that, because when when I go out, family, personal, I'm not somebody that needs to be on the guest list. I actually prefer to pay my cover and slide on in the background, because I want somebody to entertain me on my nights off. And like you said, you want the professional to entertain the professional. Right. And it's beautiful to watch someone who knows what they're doing, and to not just watch, but to hear them, you know? I mean, because like you said, how many times can you play a certain song and still make it fresh?
Right.
That's the sign of a good DJ.
Right. Because it's not even how many times that song is being played in every club that you go to, but each DJ has a tiny little twist on what they're backing it up with or what they're starting it off with to get it to that point. Right. And that's where, when you're sitting there, because to be honest, I don't drink. So if I go to a club, I'm not there to drink. Right. So I'm not even there to have the disillusion of an alcoholic, oh, this is really great. I know a great DJ when I hear one, because when I'm sitting there with a club soda, and I'm going, wow, that's awesome. Right. That guy's good. So it's not looking to critique somebody, because I'll never go and critique somebody else's way of playing. But if I feel it when I'm sitting there, that to me is like, okay, I'm coming back for this guy. This guy's worth it. Or I've been in clubs where I'll turn around and go, oh man, wow. Yeah, I'm gonna go. Thanks. I'd be there for maybe 20 minutes, and I'll know in 20 minutes whether I want to stay or...
Went to a New Year's party, and that was exactly what it was like. The DJ was terrible. Right. Like, this restaurant had 2 New Year's parties. The downstairs DJ was great, and he wasn't our DJ.
Right.
And it was like, don't you have any friends that you could send upstairs? But of course, we weren't rude to the DJ that was performing.
No, of course not.
We just kind of, like you said, left the room and went to join the other party.
You are either on that groove or you're turned off by it. Right. And I think that goes with anything, with art, with social conversation. It goes with anything. You're either into what you're doing or you're out, and you just don't feel it, and you move on. You know, I had a kid that when I was DJing in this one club, he'd come up to me all the time, I want to be a DJ, I want to be a DJ. And he had the charisma and he had the personality, just didn't have the talent at first. So he asked me, hey, can you help me? Can you work with me a little bit? I said, sure. And I gave him a little bit of insight. I figured, okay, you know, I'm going to be probably going out the door in another 5-10 years. And not to leave it to a legacy of somebody who really wants it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's always nice to see that.
Yeah. So I turned around and I started training him. Listen for this. Listen for that. Know that if you got harmonics that are clashing, don't bother whether the beats work or not.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because if you got a horn on this one and you got violins on this one, and they're just not the same genre or they're not the same effect.
You said it harmonically. That's,
right. You got to make sure
you'll hear it.
Yeah.
You'll hear it when it's not right.
So I was helping him to understand that and to kind of get him into a flow. So he started going off on his own. You know, he was mixing and asking me, hey, how's this sound? I'm like, dude, you're getting it. You're really finding your groove. He's like, do you think I'm ready to go? And I was like, you know what? Try it. That's the best way, is diving in.
Right.
Because if you're going to sit and wait till everything is perfect, you know that pinky. It's going to happen, and you're going to have to jump back on your feet.
Yeah.
Because if you crash and burn and then just put your head down in shame, you're done.
You're done.
You have to turn around. I meant to do that.
Right.
Here's another great jam.
Lie and smile. I meant to do that.
When everybody turns around and goes, you go, rock on. And you spin another disc. You know what I mean? So he went out and he started doing his own thing. And from what I remember, I haven't been in touch with him for a long time, but from what I remember, maybe 6 years ago, he was doing techno, like he was getting that big volume.
Right on.
You know, he was getting that crowd. And that to me is like, that's awesome. That's somebody who really wanted it, took advantage of having that free knowledge, and actually listened and paid attention.
Right.
Because he was one of the kids, I think, in the beginning, when I asked him, you know, as a DJ, would it be better to drop a floor and he was like, well, I'd rock that club. I said, no, that's the number one rule you don't want to do. You want to rock the club, but you want to rock it in pieces, man.
Right.
You don't want to
cut it up into chunks.
Yeah, you gotta slow it down somewhere.
It's kind of like a hero sandwich. You can't shove the thing down your throat. You got to cut it up into chunks.
Right.
You can eat the whole damn thing, just not at once.
That's right. Because you got to remember these, especially with techno. I mean, these guys will go for 12-hour sessions and play, and you got somebody dancing for 12 hours, they're going to be dehydrated. Not only that, they're going to pass out. You know, they just exerted a whole lot of energy. Man.
I was going to say, man, their feet are going to be throbbing.
Right. And if you got a dance floor packed, you want the people that didn't get on the dance floor to be able to get on the dance floor. You want to
cycle them in,
Yeah. You want to give everybody a shot.
Exactly.
You know? But yeah, that's pretty much where music just, it's an interesting wave of different generations that bring different things to the table that you as a DJ have to filter, take in, readapt, and try and make it all work. I remember spinning techno into Kiss, I Was Made for Loving You, back out to techno into a reggae song just to see if it could be done.
Right.
Like I would just practice just to see, okay, I know this is 90 beats per minute and this is 120, but I want to backspin it and then bring in that other song just to see if it will mesh.
Right on.
You know? So you'd play with all different kinds of stuff, and it's just, it's like that with anything. Photography, same thing. You know, you're going to play with different lighting effects. You're going to play with different ways of doing stuff where if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and you leave it, and you move on, and you try something else. And the same thing with music. If that mix is Yeah, if you're second guessing it, you're done.
Right.
Do it to the point where you know that's going to flow.
Yeah, you have to have the confidence, because once you let the needle fly, you're done.
Yeah.
It's like jumping out of an airplane. Right. You're not walking backwards. Right. You ain't going back in.
There was a time where I would do the stuff on the computer. All right, so now we're getting into the digital age, and you didn't have to spin it. You could just use the wave.
Right, a wave file.
Pop it up and remix that way. You didn't need loop samplers anymore. You didn't need certain materials. All you had to do was just know what you were doing. And I remember I was doing this place called the Beach Club. It was in... where was that place? I think it was in Brooklyn. I don't remember. And the DJ that was there was like a wedding DJ, right? So you come out and he'd do his dance numbers and get the crowd rolling and do all this stuff. But they wanted somebody different. No, it was up in Port Charlotte, actually, I think, or somewhere up there, Sarasota. And my sister was working there, and she turned around and she said, "Hey, we need a DJ. Do you want a DJ?" I'm like, well, let me go check the place out, So I go in and I see what the guy's doing. Typical wedding stuff, YMCA and stuff like that. So I said, well, Mary, I don't do that anymore. Like, I'm not going to do that in a club. I'll do that somewhere else. Right. I'm not going to do that here. She's like, I know, that's the whole reason. They want a DJ, not a wedding DJ. They want a DJ. I said, okay. So I remember going in, and I was mixing up stuff on the computer just to have fill breaks where I could take a rest, So I'd mix in a song, play a couple of songs, and then I'd mix out and go into the computer and let the computer play for 10, 15 minutes. I go to the bar, grab what I got to get, right? So they weren't used to that, because they were used to somebody coming out and participating or getting everybody in a conga line and doing that stuff, and I wasn't going to do that. I was strictly their DJ. I was playing the material, and I was doing everything right. These people didn't take to it because either they felt like their DJ got burnt, the guy that was doing it, or I wasn't going out and doing what he was doing. I wasn't doing the same stuff.
They wanted you to be different as long as you did the same thing.
Exactly. So I turned around and I was like, okay, man, this is not going to work for me. They're like, no. The owner loves you, even though the crowd doesn't. No, that doesn't help me any, because I need that feedback. I need to say,
the crowd's going to lynch you, but the owner says, don't worry.
Yeah, he loves you. He thinks you're great. And I remember that was the one club that I was just not having it. I was just not there. I think I worked there for maybe 2 months, and I was like, okay, you know what? Even the band, I would play in between the sets, and the band turned around, they're like, wow, you're an awesome DJ. Finally, they have a real DJ here. And I'm like, thanks, I appreciate that, but I couldn't get anybody on the floor, I couldn't get anybody to come up because it wasn't what they wanted. And these were the regulars that were there all the time. And I think that's when I started having that taste of, okay, I'm kind of getting over this, and I don't feel like doing clubs anymore. And I kind of started backing out because I really wasn't putting my heart into it, and I really didn't want to turn around and do the same thing the guy that got fired for it, So and I wasn't.
And the truth of the matter is, you could have and done it 10 times better, right. But that's not what you.
Right, because that's what we did outside of the clubs, was doing the wedding stuff. So yes, I could have definitely repeated everything he did and mimicked it.
Right.
But that was what they said they didn't want, so I didn't want to do that. And at the same time, I didn't. Anyway,
I get that.
So sometimes there are areas in which you feel very challenged, and it's a matter of, are you going to go ahead and fight it on and say, this is how I'm going to do it, and I'm going to make it work. I'm going to get through all of those people that, like the other club where I was just doing the 80s and 90s, where they backed off, and then all of a sudden I started getting a groove coming back in. I didn't want to sit that long to wait for that to happen. Right. So I just said, I'm done. Get the guy back, or, get somebody else, but I'm finished, because I really don't want to take the time anymore to reestablish that clientele.
Because it is a lot of work. Like, people don't realize that. They think a DJ just comes in. It can take you 6 months to turn a club over.
Right.
And it's not that, like, the regular customers are a problem, but sometimes, for whatever reason, a club, they just can't attract the clientele that they need to continue successfully. Because just because you have regulars doesn't mean that they're actually spending money.
Right. And see, that was the one thing too, is that when you have owners that'll go, I want to make a change. We need to, you got clientele in the door, but nobody's spending. So I need somebody we're going to revamp and we're going to redo this. And they're all gung ho until their registers really start dropping.
Right.
And that's when as a DJ, their registers start dropping and they don't have faith in you. It's not gonna be a good combination.
No.
That's why
it won't end
that's
well.
That's why my sister was like, he really loves you. He thinks you're great. Okay? But I don't feel like revamping this place in 6 months. I don't want to wait that long. It's either this is going to flow or it's not. And I'm kind of done with it. So, I'm glad he loves me. I'm glad he likes the material. I'm glad he does all that stuff. But I'm not getting any feedback, and I'm really not in the effort anymore to do it. And it was kind of my understanding in my head, I'm done. I'm done with the clubs. I'll do other stuff, but I'm not going to do the clubs anymore because I didn't want to be around the environment anymore. The club environment was fun when your music and your material were motivating and interesting, and then the club started getting into, like I said, it started getting into music that really didn't do anything for me. Didn't do anything for me. I couldn't do techno because it wasn't called for. I worked this one club. Guy came in downtown Fort Myers, where the lodge is now.
Oh, okay, I know what it is. Yeah.
Okay. Before that, this guy came in, he bought that place, and he turned around and he came to me.
Didn't he have the poles in there?
I think he had poles in there, but he set it up as a blues club.
Okay.
All right? He wanted to do blues. We're going with blues. The older people like it. When we get into season, they're going to dig it. We're going to have a blues club. I was like, cool.
Right on.
I'm thinking Clapton and going in my zone, right? He's digging it. Nobody's coming in because all the downtown regulars.
Right. It's not the music.
All club kids. They weren't the adults. You only got season. Season was the only time you were going to be able to make that happen. So then he's like, okay, the music's great, but do you think maybe we could throw in a little bit of hip hop or something? And I was like, dude.
Not a blues club anymore.
Yeah.
And look, again, nothing against hip hop. It's just if you're going for a concept,
you have to
at least see it through.
Especially with a club, you have to have a 5-year plan, and with that 5-year plan, you have to know that your money is going to have to be invested first. It's going to have to take at least 2 years for you to become that, because once you get word of mouth that you're the place to go for that, you'll grab people from Naples to come all the way up here because they know at least they have a blues place or a jazz place to go to. He was going to line up some really good jazz musicians and all of this stuff, and he got panicked and he got nervous too fast that he just turned around and said, you know what, let's try and get the kids come in and they look around and they like the atmosphere, but they don't like the music. Okay, well, we're not catering to kids. Because what are they going to do? Buy one drink? 2 drinks?
I mean, if you're going to go with a blues concept, that's definitely not a kid's concept.
Right. You're looking at 30 and over.
Right.
So if you want 30 and over to come walking in the door, they have to first realize that this place used to be a kid's place.
Right.
They have to wait for that all to filter out and know that they're not coming back for adults to come in the door and feel comfortable there. Right. And then once they make that home, that's it.
Right, then you're locked in.
Yeah, that's the reason why I played the 70s and 80s when I did the other club, because it was, do you want money or do you want bodies? Which one do you want? Because I could fill half that club with a whole ton of money, or I could have you wall to wall with people asking for water.
Right.
Which one do you want? You want the high bowler that's a $7 drink, or do you want a bottle of water that's a $3 drink?
Want to be a baller, shot caller.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when you do that, when you're working as a DJ and you're working with these club owners, you really got to know how that club owner thinks. If he's gung-ho and then realizes his register ain't ringing, is he gonna snap on you and just
put it on
reverse? Well, not even put it on you, but just reverse you and say, okay, we were going in this direction, but I'm not getting anybody. I need bodies. Go that way. And do you want to do that? Do you want to just be the guy that does what the club owner wants, or do you want to be a DJ that knows what he's doing and tells the club owner, hey, listen, give me 3 months and I'll make it happen.
Right.
And then when he starts to see that happening, then you have a bond and a relationship with the owner that he doesn't want to lose you.
Right.
And then you got job security. But if he doesn't believe you in the beginning because his register is bringing what he wants, he didn't have trust in you in the first place. But when they come looking for you because you have a reputation as a DJ of doing things and they come to you, they got to put a lot of faith in you. So it's a lot of responsibility on you, too. It's almost like you're a manager of the club because you're managing the material and people.
Managing the entertainment.
Yeah.
I get that. Now, I'm going to ask you to take a minute. Okay? I'm going to ask you a question. You don't have to answer right away.
Okay.
There are songs that we all have that are guilty pleasures.
Right.
Could be the Curly Shuffle.
It's a great song.
It could be Shut Up at Your Face.
Right.
Do you have a guilty pleasure song that's so corny, so silly?
Let me think. That's a good question. Oh.
See, like, one of mine is that song, Billy, Don't Be a Hero.
That's a great song.
I was a young kid.
Right.
It was on the only English-speaking station in Puerto Rico. I was able to cue it in the mountains, man. We got 2 stations in the mountains, and that came on.
You know what mine was?
What's that?
Still to this day, The Greatest American Hero.
Really?
You remember the theme song to that?
Would you like to listen to it?
Sure, put it
Let's
on.
listen to it.
Yeah, I'd have to say that's the only one that really comes to mind at the song. I used to love that show. That and the A-Team. It was such a positive message, that's why.
Yeah. I'll even play the lyrics. That way we can sing along.
I don't know. That's where I end. I don't have a vocal range at all. 70s were rough, man.
But there were a lot of theme songs that I liked, too. I don't know if you ever remember, there was, what was it? SWAT.
That's a great one.
That had a great theme song. There was a couple of really, like, even Beretta had a pretty cool theme song, you know? Sammy Davis Jr. in there.
But you know what? You know what reminds me? The 70s, they were really a screwed up era.
They were.
Really were. One of the big songs that you'll hear at every karaoke bar or you'll hear at every sing-along bar is Pina Colada song, right? Do you know what that song's about?
Yeah, cheating on your old lady.
Yeah, and they're okay with it. Everything's good. Oh, it was you who put that added. Silly me.
Oh, you mean you were going to cheat on me while I was going to cheat on you?
Oh, let's go home.
Let's go home.
Yeah, like that would happen in reality.
Listen, I know in my world there would be a shoe at my head.
You'd be gun at mine. But that's what I'm saying. Like everything was so lightweight, like this, you know. But they had some serious content that was really screwed up.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna put this on pause for a second.
Let's do it. You can stop that at any time.
There's a website. When I was a kid, like I mentioned, that my mom used to play the radio all the time in the car, and we would sing along to songs. But it was the radio station that was really important. It was WABC 77 AM,
Yep.
And they played the baddest jams back in the day. And recently, I found a website that has all their old playlists, and I was looking for some stuff just I gotta go down the rabbit hole. Let's go in head first. I started in 1970, and I was finding like great songs that are not even recognized anymore. Yeah. And was it like a radio station? Like, okay, from WABC, that was when I was a little kid. Then when I was in junior high school, they had 99X, and that's where we used to play Elvis Costello and Blondie and the Ramones.
New wave punk stuff.
Right, and and like at the time, like PLJ wasn't as cool as it could have been, but it was cool most of the time.
Right. Yeah, they did that swing thing where it was, okay, we're gonna play some cheesy pop stuff, but at the same time, he's a really good song.
So here's some Led Zeppelin. Was there a radio station that you used to listen to a lot?
You know what's the ones that you mentioned are definitely, I remember them. The only one that pops into my head from that time period was Kiss FM. I would think it was 98.7 or something like that. And I don't think they had any kind of real genre. They were kind of like all over the place. That's pretty cool. They did some hip hop. They did some. They didn't do rock stuff. I think it was more pop and hip hop. That they were mixing back and forth. But yeah, Kiss FM. I remember that, and because I remember the logo, it had a set of lipstick print, and then it had the call letters for it. And what was the other one? There was one at the far right, 105 something.
WDHA?
Maybe. I don't remember. But yeah, Kiss FM is the only one that really comes into my head. Yeah, it was definitely a Long Island station.
It might have been WDHA. Yeah. Well, also there was 99X, and
I remember that. And they have one down here. No, they used to have one down here.
Well, but the 99X, they had the Dr. Demento show.
Yes, I remember.
And that's why I kind of asked you that question about like your guilty pleasure song,
right.
Because, and shouts out to Dr. Demento, by the way. Brilliant. If you don't know who he is, brilliant. Knowledge of music is just incredible. Yeah. His taste in music is impeccable, and his humor is great. Yeah, all those corny songs, like even Rocky Horror stuff. Not that we would actually play that in the club, but those songs meant something at one point to a bunch of people, and it was kind of cool to hear, even like Groucho Marx songs. Like I never heard that before, and that's the DJ in me, going, I got to hear more of this.
Right. Yeah, and there's that time period, I guess, when you're first starting out, where you have this kind of like superiority attitude because you know more music than anybody else.
Or so you think.
Right. And you're kind of like, yeah, I know that, but you try to get into these obscure bands that like nobody's heard of and nobody cares, but you know it. So therefore, you must know your stuff.
You're the cool DJ.
Right. You're it'd be like the Plasmatics or something like that wasn't really popular, was underground, but you knew the underground stuff. I remember Deborah Harry from Blondie, right? Here's a story for you. I'm in a club and had one too many, and I came out of the club and there's Deborah Harry leaning on this car. I think it was CBGB's, as a matter of fact. She's hanging outside CBGB's. I come out and I go, "You're Deborah Harry." And she goes, "You're an idiot." I'm like, "Thank you, Deborah Harry. I'm an idiot." I was happy. She acknowledged me. I felt like I was part of the band.
I understand these things.
It was fun.
I do understand these things.
Yeah, you'd go into those clubs, especially like CBGB's. That was the ground level of punk era that shot a lot of people up. That was the club that started everybody.
It was a gateway. It opened up a whole world.
It was its own universe. And when you're a DJ and you look at clubs like that, you want to make your mark. When you're doing clubs, you want to make your mark like that. I want to be the guy that's inside that club, that plays that music, that fills in for the bands that are on their way going up. And that was Wave Street.
Right.
When we used to do Wave Street, Joe Jackson, I remember playing.
I like Joe Jackson.
Joe Jackson, let me tell you something. That guy was
Tell me about Joe Jackson.
I don't know if he was angry because he was at Wave Street or if he was just an angry person altogether. But he was playing there. He's on the stage. And I guess, you know the screens that come down?
Yeah.
I guess somebody forgot to move the screen out. So he starts out, he's playing his piano, and he's looking up.
Waiting for the screen to come up.
Piano, he's looking up, and he stops right in the middle of the song. And he goes, "Can you put the damn screen up?" I remember going, wow, that's pretty harsh. But just to watch people in small clubs like that, you know. But he wound up becoming one of like 80s memorable, you know.
I love his first album.
Yeah, and the Look Sharp album, if you listen to the lyrics on that album, that's all about con artistry. Believe it or not. Yeah, Looking Sharp was him dressing up like he had money,
right,
but he would take you for everything you got.
Okay.
You got to listen to the album because it's really cool.
It's a great album.
Really cool album. When you listen to the lyrics, it's about like, what was the other one? Look Sharp and
Got the Time.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that
time ticket. Yeah, that one's a great one too. But there was another one where he's talking about how this guy is, you know, talking about, hey, you got to be tough on the street, and and meanwhile he's scamming him all the way through the song. So he's actually.
Isn't that the song Look Sharp? Maybe.
Is it Look Sharp? But there's another one that's on that album too, where he's got that same persona. It's like, okay, you better watch your wallet and watch your before I leave. You know what I mean? So stuff like that. It's fun to look at that era and look at the content of that era. Then you go into the 90s, and it's a lot of Pearl Jam and these, like, it almost looked like they went from glam rock in the 80s to, I don't care what I look like in the 90s. You know, it was all that, plaid shirts and...
It's the backlash.
Yeah, it was...
Pendulum swings.
No more Rat, no more Poison, no more
Aquanet.
Yeah, no more Aquanet. It's like they lost a can of Aquanet and said, okay, I'm just going to get off my couch and do something.
Yeah.
You know?
Maybe I'll take a shower first.
Right.
Maybe not.
And then you get into the 2000s and you're flipping materials and you're getting into this whole, everything now becomes...
I remember it being very angry.
Angry, yeah. And if you notice, too, with music, it's kind of fun, too, is they'll go back 20 years. Whatever the era is, go back 20 years. And that's the material they're pulling from. So, like, your 90s was your 70s.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
And your 2000s were your 80s.
You know when I noticed that? When we were kids. When Happy Days was a big popular hit. The 50s were big, but we were in the 70s.
Right. So, yeah, if you go back every 20 years, you'll get a refresh of whatever that era was. So when you get into the 30s, you're going to look back at the 2000s and go, okay, that's the material that they were running at, or that was the deal. I mean, look at the 90s when they did the bell-bottom, they tried to bring back the bell-bottom pants, but they had stretchies.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, okay, wait a minute, that's not working, man. Delight. That was such a great band in the 90s. That was a fun band. You know what I mean? They were such a great band in the 90s, and they took the 70s and just totally made it into a 90s version of that.
Speaking of clubs, 2 questions.
Yeah.
What was your favorite club to work at? And then what was your favorite club to go and hang out at?
RedSpot was definitely the favorite club to work at. That was by far. That was.
I bet it was.
Yeah, that was such a great. I mean, the guy took a '57 Caddy, gutted it, and made it into.
It was magic.
Bar. Yeah, it was. I mean, he had little airplanes.
It's one of the few times that I've walked into a building and said, "This is magical." Yeah. Danceteria was another place.
That was a great.
That I walked in there and I was like, "This is awesome."
Yeah, I would have to say the Limelight was my favorite place to go to.
That was beautiful.
The RedSpot was my favorite favorite place to work.
Right on.
Because that was an old church that they even still had the pipes, you know, the
stained glass,
pipes
everything.
and stuff. Yeah,
Just such a beautiful backdrop.
It was definitely a cool looking club.
Right.
But I remember clubs like the Tunnel.
Yeah.
I remember Sanctuary. Sanctuary was this tiny little hole in the wall in Manhattan that you have to go downstairs into a basement, and but it was the greatest music. It was the greatest vibe. The Scrap Bar.
I was just going to say, when you said going downstairs, I was going to say the Scrap Bar was another badass little
great.
place.
It was just all junkyard stuff that they made into furniture.
Yeah.
It was cool. Like they had like saw blades and things like that.
They had really cool kinetic art too.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah. That place was awesome too. Save the Robots.
I was never there.
That was up on like 57th, I think, something like that. The Loft. There was a place in Manhattan called The Loft that these guys had a loft.
Right.
Top of the building, and it was big. It was. Do you remember the movie Wayne's World?
The first one?
Yeah. Okay. When Tia Carrera is playing in this, it looked almost exactly like that. It was this huge, big loft that everybody, kind of went and hung out, and the local bands would go up there and play and stuff, and that was fun. And the Mansion in Staten Island. The Mansion was this big, huge building down on Richmond Terrace that.
I was never there.
You never there? Dude, that place was awesome too. This guy owned this place and he rented it out to people, and the people that lived in the house were going to school for like dentistry and like all of these legitimate jobs, but they played in a band together.
Oh, that's so cool.
So after the bars would close, they're like, "Come on, come to the Mansion," and they would jam out in the basement, and they were in an industrial area, and it was a huge house,
So
and
nobody bothered.
And everybody that lived there hung out in the basement.
That's fun.
Yeah, they had pool tables. They had all this stuff. I mean, it was like probably a good, I would say 20 rooms. It was a big, huge place, you know. But those things, and like I said, it's the music that came out of it, because they would play some originals. They'd play their stuff, they put copies and stuff, but they would play their original stuff. And that was fun. That was fun era to kind of experience that, because like I said, you don't see that anymore. Especially out here, you don't see that. You don't see any kind of underground movement of people just going, "Hey, let's go hang out here because this is the cool spot."
Right.
Now it's just, I'll give you a good example. I'm down here. I have been out of the clubs for like 2 years. I'm not drinking anymore. And I remember going into Level, I think it was. That's downtown as well, right? So I go into this club and I got blue hair, I'm still rocking it. And this blue hair, and I'm kind of new to the Fort Myers area. And I remember going in and hearing these people turn around and go, "Well, we just bought a $200 bottle of vodka. We're going up to the VIP room." Now, from being in New York, a VIP room is not a loft in the same club. It's a completely separate club off the main.
Right.
And you'd have your own music, your own DJ. You can do whatever you want. That is a VIP. And these people are so proud of their, $200 bottle, and they're going up to this loft. That's
funny you say that.
The dance floor, right? So it ignited me to the point of, I asked the bartender, I said, "Listen, I don't drink, but I want to see a VIP room. Would you mind if I go up there?" "Oh, no, you can't. You have to buy a $200 bottle." And I said, "Well, I don't drink. I just want to take a look around at the environment. Being from clubs and being the way we are, "No, I'm sorry, you can't." I said, "Okay, so if I give you $200, can I go upstairs and look?" "Oh, well, you have to take the bottle with you." "I don't drink, honey. You can drink the whole entire bottle. As a matter of fact, give everybody a shot, and I'll just buy the bottle. I just want to go upstairs."
Right.
It's just I can't if I don't take the bottle with me. I said, "Okay." I said, can I talk to your manager? I'm not going to get you in trouble. I just want to find out what the vibe is here." She brings the manager up. Like I said, I have blue hair, right? Blue hair, black outfit. I look like something from Marilyn Manson, right? So I turn around and they Manager comes over and he's like, hey, what can I do for you? I said, well, I was speaking to your bartender. I want to see your VIP room or your section. I can see it from here, but I want to, I want to go up and experience it a little bit. I said, I would give her $200, but I don't drink. And I just want to go up there. Oh, well, you have to buy the bottle. They're like, okay, again, we're clearly not getting the message. Right. I don't want the alcohol. I just want the space.
Here, I'm going to give you $200.
Yeah. Can you pour the vodka out?
Give me the empty bottle. Right.
Yeah, give me the empty bottle.
I'll take it.
And I'll go upstairs. I can't do that, sir. I said, okay. I said, so here's the thing. Now, this is back when I was first doing the photography, right? I turned around and I said, okay. I said, what if I want to rent that space? What would you charge me? He turns around and he said, what night are we talking about? He said, it's Saturday night. It's my birthday. I want to throw a big party. People come. I'd like to rent out your VIP room. On a Saturday night, you would have to cover all the expenses of all we do on a Saturday night. I said, okay, well, give me a number. He gives me the number. I said, okay, we're good. I got that number. He's looking at me all kinds of sideways, right? And I turned around and I said to him, I said, okay, how many people can you fit up there? He's like, well, we can fit 75 people up there. I said, that's great. I said, I have 200 people coming. What can you do for me? So he's looking at me like, well, there's a downstairs section. I said, yeah, I know there's a downstairs section, but I'm about to throw this big party, and I want my people with me.
Right.
Okay? Oh, here's my card. I have to go do something. I'll be back. We can talk later. He's blowing me off, which he should. I'm nobody. I'm just a DJ that nobody knows. Okay? So I go walking down the street and I go to the next bar, and I know the bartender there too. And I'm sitting there having a Red Bull, and I'm kind of chuckling to myself like a madman in the corner. Right? And she's like, "What are you laughing at?" I said, "It's just funny how people will blow you off because they don't know anything about you, but you're trying to make a relationship with that person, but they just kind of brush you off because, whatever." I said, it was funny. So she turns around and she goes, well, what was the situation? I said, I just went to Level. I asked them if I can rent their VIP room out on a Saturday night. He gave me a number. I told him I can match that number, and I have a lot of people coming to this, and I asked him what he could do to help me out. She's like, hold on. She gets on the phone. She calls the owner. The owner shows up, right? So I turned around and I said, okay. I said, I explained to him what the deal was. He's like, well, how much did he ask you for? I said, he asked me for this much. We can do that. I said, okay, but how many people can you hold? It was 75. I said, I have the same problem I have over there. I said, I need 200 people to fit in here, because now we're going to do this big presentation, right? I said, I want full control of the club. And he kind of looked at me like, okay, well, I can't give you the ownership of the club. Right. I said, no, I just want, for the night, I want to be able to run it my way. You going to let me do that? He goes, yeah. I said, how much is that going to cost me? He goes, this. I said, okay, I'll match it. So we now have a deal. I have a full club on a Saturday night, open bar. All my clientele can drink for free. They don't have to put time out. So we work it out. I said, okay, I want house music. I want deep New York house music. What was the kid's name? John knows him. Spanish kid that he was working with for a while.
Dave Rojas.
So Dave's...
Shout out to Dave Rojas.
So Dave comes in, and he's got all of New York's out. He got everything I want. And this night goes off, and it was just... everybody was enjoying it. We did this whole photo shoot around it. We called it the Rock and Roll Snooty Party, because I wanted it 1940s top hat cane, right, but with a rock and roll edge to it.
Right.
So people go out buying like $200 suits. I'm like, listen, this is just, it's like a costume party, man. Don't go crazy.
Have fun with it.
Yeah. So they did. They had fun with it, and then they had fun with that night. But that was the atmosphere that I wanted one more time before I left DJing altogether. And we created that environment, and people 5 years later were still like, dude, when are you doing that again? I'm like, that was a one-time deal. We're done.
You gonna back this one?
Right. Yeah, you get me some finances.
I paid it for last time.
Right. So I think that experience for other people was an actual time where I got to sit back, enjoy watching everybody have a good time, knowing that I created it, but I didn't have to work. So it made it more fun because I actually sat back and got to just enjoy
the fruits of your labor.
Yeah. I'm like, if I'm not going to drink, I want to be entertained. Let's get 200 people in a room, play some house music, and watch them have fun.
Right on. Nothing wrong with that.
And that was my birthday celebration.
That's awesome.
Great. It was fun. You know, and you know it as much as I do. When you are passionate about what you do, there's no money in the world, there's no barricade in the world that will stop you from doing it. You just want to. Because and especially if you're bringing joy to other people and you're bringing fun to other people, that to me is amazing, you know?
You mentioned a couple times your photography, and I'd like to discuss that as well because, I mean, as all DJs know, we just don't only just like music. You know, we have other interests, and one of Richie's is he's a fantastic photographer. I mean, he's got an eye. I'm blind, you know what I'm saying? I'm blind. So tell me, what's been going on with your photography?
Well, what we started doing was we started this path a few years back. It kind of died out due to a lot of different variables. But my son is getting into sports. So him getting into sports is keeping me interested in what he's doing. So we started up a new company called One Stop Sports Photography. And it's going very well. We just kicked it off. We just got LLC'd. We're just getting all of our licensing and stuff like that. So what we're doing is we're going on this real cool athletic run. No matter what sport you do, we'll shoot it. And in that, we are capturing a lot of really good, again, it's about art, it's about feeling, and we're creating a lot of emotion out of the images that are coming in, so it's fun. I get to play music because I tell them all the time when I'm shooting, I'm like, I have to hear music, so I'll...
Do you wear headphones when you shoot?
Well, not headphones, but I'll have like a little portable speaker.
Right on.
Bluetooth. And it's hanging from my camera thing, and I'm throwing my jams on there, and and I get into that same groove. It kind of brings me back into the DJ field because I get into that groove of the music
that
I'm
artistic
playing.
creativity.
Yeah. It's like, you know what? I got this, and then a song will come on, and I'm like, oh, yeah, you know what, dude? Do this, and we start.
It's interesting how one thing inspires the other.
Right, and music has always been, for me, it's always been an inspiration. It's always been Sam and Dave, Hold On. Love that song.
Great song.
Awesome song. Every time I hear that song, I get excited. I don't even know what for. You know what I mean? Right. It's just a great, good vibe. It's like everything's going to be okay. That song always gets me where I'm just totally in the groove. I'll play that while I'm shooting. I'll play techno stuff because I just want to get into a atmospheric head of just not having to pay attention to the lyrics, but to see the art in front of me. It's almost like watching a video with no sound and then putting sound to it.
That's cool.
When you're doing it, yeah. So like what you're doing with this, it's a creative art piece that when you go to look back at it, you're gonna go, wow, that was fun. I had a good time doing that.
Right on.
Same thing with me. I love seeing the expression on the other person's face when I show them the finished product, because they're only seeing it from one side.
Right.
And then when you turn around and they go, dude, that doesn't even, I didn't even know I could look like that. That to me, it's almost like a surgeon doing plastic surgery and recreating somebody to make them feel better. With imagery, it's the same thing. And having any kind of art in my world is good. Whether it's music, whether it's photography, whether it's drawing, painting.
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
I need some kind of. Listen, I'm not a great video guy. I'm not a great photographer. I ain't great at a whole lot. You know what I'm saying? But I do require that. Even if it's taking a pipe cleaner and making something out of it, that little artistic, those little artistic sparks, you have to feed those because in my world, they enhance my life. You know, I know a lot of people that don't follow up on stuff like that. And I know it sounds silly and trivial, but I truly do believe that the artistic aspect of my life is what makes my life go to 12, 13, not just 10, you know?
Right.
Like it takes it.
You can go almost in a complete circle. You can start out with music and then bring yourself to painting and then bring yourself to photography and then bring yourself back to all of it at one time. You can, because I know when I'm editing, music's on. I have to have music to edit. I can't take a photograph and then go and sit at a computer with dead silence. I can't. Because music drives you emotionally. How many people have thrown on Metallica in their car and all of a sudden the next thing you know, they're speeding. You know what I mean? Because they're like, and you just go. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Guilty.
Both of us are guilty of that. But that's why music and art and all of those things, if you stick within that realm, yes, there has to be a 9 to 5, or yes, there has to be an income. But don't ever lose that edge of feeling and art. You know what I mean? My daughter loves to paint. She'll sit there and she's good at it. Natural talent, right? And she'll look at it and she's like, I don't know if people like that. I said, it's not about whether they like it or not. Do you like it? Well, obviously, I painted it. I like it. Right. I said, okay. If it draws good emotion to you, then that's art. Right. If it's pleasing to you. The RedSpot, okay? Remember when you used to round that corner and go to the dance floor, and then there was this kind of like...
That was the Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Right. That mesh of whatever it was that he put up on the wall. My sister Mary and I would stare at it, just critique it, like if it was this big art piece and hanging in an art gallery. You know what I mean? It was just wire and spray paint and plywood. But it's like, I can really feel what he's saying here. You know? We do that, and it was fun because it was fun. It was just, you're looking at it,
and because it was interesting,
right?
You know, as silly as like you said, it was just this and that, but it was interesting to look at.
And even if you were to sit there and just hit a key over and over and over again, if that's how you felt, that's what you got.
Right.
You know? So musically, you got to realize that when people are putting this material together, when you're a singer, you know how this works. When you are feeling a song, you get this boom that comes out. Your voice projects.
A little short and curlies get a.
Your voice projects. I've heard you sing. We've done our motorcycle.
Why yes,
nights.
We won't discuss the details, but why yes, we have.
And you were amazing. And you would turn around and we'd walk into a club, and people would look at us like, "What are these dudes doing?" I mean, I don't even remember if we had like patent leather on or what it was, but
we were very hairy.
Yeah, we were definitely not the average Joe that walked into the bar. So then we'd have these people kind of looking at us weird, like that record skip and all that dead silence, and you're walking into the room, and then you would pick out a couple of songs, just go up and say, "Hey, DJ, give me your slip," and wait for your name to be called, and then you go up there and you would be like, "Wow!" And everybody just turned around like, where did that come from? And it was awesome to watch because we did that one night, and I'm sitting at the bar, and I remember nobody wanted to come near us, and then by the time you got off the stage and walked back over, everybody was around us. Dude, you doing another one? You gonna sing?
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was cool. That was fun. That was one of the other great schemes we were gonna do, where we were gonna take a limo and ride around the karaoke bars and pretend you were
pretend I was somebody who I didn't think I was.
and turn around and I was gonna be management, and we were gonna have our girls that were going to be your groupies.
Gullible.
Yeah.
It's too funny.
It leads into such great fun. And I think a lot of people are missing fun nowadays. You know,
Yeah, we could
there's
use a lot
so
more fun.
much seriousness, and there's so much.
People are way too uptight these
They
days,
are.
man. It's scary.
They are, and I think that's where the lack of creativity comes from now. I think that a lot of people are too worried about making people upset, and they're not really suffocating in a way. Where when we were DJing, we were doing clubs and we were roaming around, it was freedom. You had no worries.
We had the freedom to fly.
You could say whatever you want, and somebody would just look at you and be like, "Dude, really?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, really?
Yeah, really? Yeah, really?
Yeah, really. That's how I felt. I'm sorry.
Rich, I want to thank you very much.
No worries.
Great
man.
time, man.
Good. I'm glad.
2 mics, 2 DJs. You got DJ Dave, you got DJ Richie. Thanks for coming by. We'll see y'all again real soon.
Take care.
Bro, that was awesome.
That was fun. That's what I'm saying. It's about fun.
Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. While you're at it, leave a comment below. See you soon.